Chair, Honorable Akoma, colleagues from the media, I apologize that we kept you waiting for some time. Take responsibility for that. My dear colleagues, members of our party, senior members of our party, Secretary General, Chairwomen, Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Akoma, our candidate mayor, who is also NMC. I see some senior citizens over there. We'll be brief today. We are specifically wanting to address Mr. Lungu's statement in Dollar on violence and the concept of self-defense. You are all aware that when he arrived in Dollar, or while he's in Dollar, he issued a lot of threats, substantial threats on citizens, including someone he called that one. I do interpret correctly who he called that one. It's actually myself. I'm aware he also called that one the foolish one. He meant myself, I guess, as a reflection of how he feels about citizens in this country. He instructed Kampyongo, his brutal Kampyongo, and the Inspector General of Police to arrest that one and others. Let us respond this way. The PF and Mr. Lungu are the breeders of violence in this country. It is common knowledge that these are the ones that have bred violence in this country. They have used violence as a tool to oppress citizens. They've used violence as a tool to deny citizens their fundamental human rights, liberties, and freedoms. Absolutely very clear. And we know it, we understand it, we have seen it. It is written on the walls everywhere that PF has taken the tool of violence to frighten off citizens, including to orchestrate a breakdown in the rule of law. We all know that. Every well-meaning Zambian knows that. There is enough evidential information to it. We in the UPND and a number of opposition parties are victims of Mr. Lungu's dictatorship, Mr. Lungu's oppression. Again, it's common knowledge. But true to what dictators do and the tools that they use, they would like to make victims appear to be the aggressors. That's the disposition he carried in Dollar. To make we the victims to appear like we are the aggressors. And that we must be now arrested, we must be brutalized, using the instruments of the state, which belong to the people of Zambia. The police, I guess it means the Secret Service, judging from his tone in Dollar. I really think that if you want to prove who has been orchestrating violence and oppression on citizens, you don't have to look far. The assumption is trying to create that it's UPND. It is absolutely wrong. And I have done a summary for the media, for the press here, which will be available for you to scan through, which I have simply called the human rights situation in Zambia. Who has been oppressing who in this country for over a period of time? I will just pick a few specific dates to remind you, to just rejiggle your memories. I think it's very essential that we do that. Before I go through this list of political leaders who have been brutalized, oppressed under Mr. Lungu's dictatorship, wearing basically a sheepskin, somebody who wears a sheepskin at every turn, at every moment, but does totally different things that are damaging society. Before I read this list, I want to remind the people of Zambia that citizens have not forgotten how the PF thugs murdered Grazia Matapa. Grazia Matapa, a UPND member who lived in Mutendere, reported to the police over 3 times that the PF thugs were after his life. Unfortunately, the police did nothing, and Grazia Matapa was killed, brutally killed, through being knifed. Evidence is there. Some of these PF thugs, for once, are in prison. There is the evidence for it. It is Mr. Lungu who instructed the police to discharge live ammunition at the High Court grounds during our petition process and injured a lot of our members. One of our members still lives with a bullet in his abdomen up to today. It is Mr. Lungu. It is not us, the UPND. We're the victims. We have not forgotten how on the nomination day, 2016 nomination day, presidential nomination day, how our members were attacked by non-PF thugs in Northmead, in Lusaka. And Mr. Lungu's thugs discharged bullets to our members going to the nomination center at Mulungushu. Citizens should be aware of that. It's documented. And that individual who shot our member was never even taken into the police, not even 1 minute. He walks the streets of Lusaka free. That's a fact. The nation has not forgotten how during the 2016 campaign period, Mr. Lungu, as Commander-in-Chief, as a reckless person occupying that office, by whatever means, issued instructions for the police to shoot at innocent citizens and killing one Mapenzi Chiburo. We cannot forget those issues. We cannot forget issues that since my detention, brutal attack and detention on the 11th of April, 2016, by heavily armed policemen, 300 plus of them, breaking down our house, under his instruction, direct instruction, for a crime we did not commit, and the subsequent imprisonment for no offense at all. He would like Zambians to forget all of that and say UPND is the aggressor and not him. Let's not even talk about the torture, the brutality. That's a matter for a different time. But since my detention, as you may know, that was my 15th detention under the PF, the majority of which have been under Mr. Lungu. And today, he calls me in dollar, that one, that foolish one, is the one who is orchestrating violence. That cannot be right. But since that 11th of April 2016, 8 other politicians have been detained by Mr. Lungu. Because many of us don't follow these issues. So, count Hakainde. On the April 14, 2017, Chilufya Tayari was detained by Mr. Lungu. That's all I wanted you to know, and you can do your count. On 10 September 2016, President Mumba, who is president of MMD, was detained by Mr. Lungu and went through a long court process. It's still going on. Do your count. Xavier Chishimba was detained by Mr. Lungu on 3rd August 2017 and charged with an offense of defamation of the president, so-called president, and was detained beyond the constitutional limit of 48 hours. Actually, he was detained for 8 days without being taken to court. That is Mr. Lungu detaining President Chishimba. On 29th of September 2017, together with other civil society members, President Sean Tembo, as I said, together with Laura Miti, Chama Fumba Pilato, and other protesters were detained for exercising their constitutional right, fundamental human right of freedom to demonstrate peacefully. They are still in court. It is Mr. Lungu, not that one, not that foolish one he called in dollar. It is him. Take your count. On 22 March 2017, I beg your pardon, 22 March 2017, I guess it's 2018. Beg your pardon. Mr. President or Mr. Colleague Honorable Chishimba Kamwili was detained, charged with 37 counts, denied medical treatment when Mr. Lungu knows that Chishimba Kamwili was unwell. This is Mr. Lungu. This is what African dictators do, right? Later on, you know, he also arrested Kamwili's son. The matters are in court. Take your counts. On 24th April 2018, Mr. Lungu arrested, using the police, President Precious Wale. You are all aware of that. By calling him as Jonathan Mutawali. Why would I arrest someone for calling me a name which is not mine? Because I know my name. I'm not worried. People call me names. I don't take offense because I know my name. Yes. I know my name. I know where I was born. I know that I'm a village headman. I know that I've lived in that area, parentage, for over 800 years. Why would I use state powers to brutalize Precious Wale the way he did? We wouldn't do that. Take your count. My colleague, GBM, has been arrested several times. Sometimes he's arrested with me, sometimes on his own, by the oppressive Mr. Lungu. He has clamped down on the media in many ways. On 22nd August 2016, the Independent Broadcasting Authority, so-called independent, suspended broadcasting license for privately owned movie television. That's what dictators do. I'm giving you a countdown. Common radio, stage radio. Shut it. That's what dictators and oppressors do, to frighten people. This is Mr. Lungu. I can go on. The summary is here. Now, with what I've categorized and the hundreds of citizens who are either in detention today, police detention, or they're in prison cells, filth prison cells, or indeed they're on police bond, or court bail for crimes they did not commit. So, with this summary, I don't want to bother you. I'm sure you can agree with me. Who is violent in this country? Who is orchestrating violence in this country? Who is abusing state apparatus to arrest all of these people? Honestly, if you thought that one, the foolish one, is a problem, what about the 8 others here under Mr. Lungu? We've never experienced this situation where opposition leaders are detained and brutalized in this manner, in a short space of time. It can only be a dictator, it can only be a brutal individual who plays this sort of thing, who enjoys arresting people and detaining innocent children, many of whom I left in jail for crimes they did not commit. He goes to Ndola and says he's preaching peace. What peace is he preaching? The taste of the pudding is in the eating. Here's the evidence, and many more. I challenge Mr. Lungu to come out sincerely to the people of Zambia. I challenge him. I think you are seeing some element in Mr. Lungu that now confirms that he's an angry man, a very angry man, and would like to oppress and suppress anyone who has an opinion different from his. You can speculate why he's angry. Your speculation may be as good as mine. I have a few ideas I think he's angry. He knows he did not win the 2016 elections. He knows that. He understands that. He knows what he did. But Zambians were peaceful. UPND was peaceful. We never went and acted responsibly when we felt that our election was wrong. We were violent, as he's trying to portray us. We would have done negative things which are common in African countries. We didn't. Again, he oppressed and suppressed the petition. We didn't go in the streets. We didn't. As I said, he has been brutalizing and arresting so many of us. Zambians have not gone in the streets. So who is violent? It is him. Maybe you've forgotten. Because we're in Zambia where we forget history. We are said to forget history. Diplomats attended a PF convention in 2011 in Kawe, and the MMD government then did not deport them. PF takes office, a diplomat attends an opposition meeting, is deported. Who is brutal? You're a British High Commissioner, you say something which is true about corruption and dictatorship, you are threatened. You now know that this is the way of dictators. Paint everybody wrong, create imaginary enemies, arrest as many as you can, kill as many as you can,
use the violence weapon to deny citizens the right to vote, as what happened in Chilanga by-election, where only 28% of eligible voters voted because people were afraid of brutality. PF cadres were waging war in Chilanga, using military weapons, police weapons, in the hands of civilians. All of that Mr. Lungu does not see, except his imaginary enemy, that one, the foolish one. That's all he sees. I was looking through social media last night and I noticed someone posted an item and said, it appears everything that troubles the economy, everything that happens in this country, the Black Mountain accident, which we warned that do not send the youth to death by mining at the Black Mountain without safety measures. We won't. And then the Minister of Mines answered that Black Mountain was not a disaster in waiting. It has happened now. And in Ndola, that's how he started his venom on that one. He started blaming that one, the foolish one, for the Black Mountain accident. So this social media guy says, so it means everything that happens in this country, he's blaming that one, the foolish one. So maybe why don't you hand over office to that one so that maybe he can be accounted? This is what I was reading on social media last night. My fellow citizens, I don't want to waste your time because it's not necessary to do that. You must know that we are living in a dictatorship. You are meant to be frightened so that you freeze. You don't challenge the corruption that is going on. And diverting attention is Mr. Lungu's art from issues to non-issues. Now, he wants to create a mindset that that one must be arrested, others must be arrested. I think Kampyongo, a few days ago, he was citing UPND members by name. Mwariteta, I think a couple of names. Yubari Swaniso, Mufalari. That is the way of dictators. Who does not know that Kampyongo is the most violent individual living today in this country? Who does not know that in 2015 presidential by-election, it is in Shiwangandu where Kampyongo organized thugs to pull down a helicopter in midair. And he repeated that in 2016, Kampyongo himself, to pull down GBM's helicopter, to pull down my helicopter. And I was there in the air, and Kampyongo organized thugs to throw missiles at the helicopters. And when we made it clear that we were not going to fly away, we were landing, he put fire on the landing spot. He started a fire. Who does not know that? And today, Lungu is using Kampyongo and the Inspector General of Police to arrest UPND members and anyone he chooses to. Here is my message to the people of Zambia. Do not fear. These are the last kicks of the dying horse. Yes. Do not fear. It gets darkest before dawn. And if you are not maybe old enough, you may think there will be no dawn. Do not fear. All these are maneuvers to position himself so that he can deliver violence in the Lusaka mayoral elections and other elections, as he did in those 16 ones before Chilanga. This is the mind of a dictator. This is the mind of somebody who now claims that that one will start a war and run away. There's nowhere to run to. This is my country. I don't have another country. This is your country. Where do we run to? Maybe it's him who wants to start a war here and move next door. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's him. He may not even move next door. From his corruption, now we know that he may even move overseas. The money he's stealing from here through corruption. He's buying homes. Homes he could never afford 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He never had anything. He couldn't even run a successful law practice. He stole from clients. The evidence is there. How unlucky we are as citizens to have an individual like that as a president. For you, for us, how unlucky can this country be? The writing was on the wall that an individual like that cannot run a country properly. His appetite is the Lusaka Ndola Road to steal $900 million. Corruption, fire tenders, ambulances, medicine stolen from medical stores, fertilizer. The list is long. And he wants to hide from those evils and start targeting citizens again. Mr. Lungu, are you not tired of arresting us for crimes we did not commit? Here is my advice, because he recommended to the police and Kampyongo to arrest us. Inspector General of Police, here is my advice. Do not arrest victims. You are a citizen of Zambia. You are in there at the behest of the people of Zambia. In that position, they pay you a salary, not Mr. Lungu. You must turn that instruction from dollar upside down and protect all citizens of Zambia. Protect all and any citizen or resident of Zambia. That is the duty that you have. Not to carry out Mr. Lungu's instruction for his self-preservation. History will judge you harshly if you follow those instructions. Your own rank and file in the police are aware that PF and Mr. Lungu are the perpetrators of violence. They are aware. We live in the same communities. For Mr. Kampyongo, I really don't have advice for a spoiled child like that. I don't have advice for him. I care less what he does in his private life. But I care what he does using taxpayers' instruments, weapons, because life is dear. Do not use citizens, institutions, and instruments to brutalize citizens as you did in Chilanga. That's not advice to him. That's a statement. My last piece of advice is that we've been toying around with the dialogue issue. We've reached a point where we cannot continue arguing over the dialogue issue. And we have reckless people like Mr. Lungu and Kampyongo behaving in this manner, making lives almost impossible for anyone to operate. I don't want to frighten you, but you're going to see more job losses because there's no economy in this country anymore. It's more expensive to do business in this country today than it was 3 years ago. Sales are down in supermarkets. It means people will lose jobs. As I told you about the impending debt crisis since 2012, 2013, many of you called me names. Today you are sitting in a debt crisis and they've acknowledged that we are in a debt crisis, yet they were arguing against that. As I mentioned to you that the economy will decline, I can now tell you that you are going to go through more pain as citizens. Not because you have made a mistake, but because you have a wrong team masquerading as leaders in the name of PF. The corruption, the self-interest, the violence, the brutality. I want to end by saying violence, dialogue must start in earnest. I want to encourage the church mother bodies, and I want to thank them for the statement they issued, I think 2 days ago, that they will not be dragged into arguments about who will lead the dialogue. Those are games of Mr. Lungu and Kampion, because they don't want dialogue, genuine dialogue, because they know that if dialogue takes place, the toolkit which they are using to oppress citizens and to stay in office will be taken away. Violence, breakdown in the rule of law, abuse of human rights, ethnic cleansing, right? Detentions, and all of that. They don't want violence. So I urge and thank the church and urge them to get on with it. And let's stop the debate of ZCID, this and that. Let's get on with the dialogue. I'm sure and I'm confident the church who have done it before will help the suffering Zambians by bringing law and order, respect for human rights, and dealing with violence properly. So we want to encourage the church to get on with the job. We agreed, it's a church. I guess Mr. Lungu agrees that it's the church. I guess other citizens who are Christians, as we're a Christian nation, agree that the church has a moral right, they have the experience, they've done it before, they've learned the lessons, they can do it. Let's get on with the dialogue. Citizens are bleeding too much. The youth are unemployed. They have no education. This is too much to bear. For a country with a young population, this is too much to bear. I really feel sorry for this country, for ourselves. Why should we be so unfortunate? A country that can go miles better is being sunk by a few greedy people, led by Mr. Lungu and his threats. It's so sad. In Choma, at the funeral of Munkomwe, I stood up to go and greet him, to demonstrate that for us, this is what normal, decent human beings must do. He goes to Ndola, he just turns like a different animal. Totally different animal. Like he has a split personality. Maybe he has a split personality. It's possible, eh? It's possible. Something is bothering Mr. Lungu. But he should not bring that to the rest of the country and let the country suffer. I want to close by saying it is a human right. It is a human right. It is a legal right. It's in the Bill of Rights in our country for citizens to defend themselves. And we are not moving from there. You come to kill us. You come to brutalize us. We will defend ourselves. Anywhere in the world, even a young child, you keep on brutalizing it. You keep on whipping the child even when they've done nothing wrong. Young as they may be, 2 or 3 years old, they will pick whatever they have, even a spoon, and hit you. That's the concept of self-defense. You cannot sit and be slaughtered tomorrow you start crying. So I end by saying, Mr. Lungu, do not issue threats. Do not use the state wrongly. Use the state instruments to protect all citizens. Police protect all citizens. In the absence of that protection, we should defend ourselves. Full stop. Don't threaten to arrest people who are doing the right thing. You have failed to provide leadership. The late President Manawasa provided leadership over violence. It ended. It ended. You are simply confirming, sir, my friend, that you have no leadership. And do not blame that one. Do not blame the foolish one. For your own information, I will not respond to the foolish one. I know he has urged the UPND to remove that one and the foolish one. That is the role of the UPND. It's not a PF role. And can you really believe it? If he felt that one and the foolish one was a weak competitor, wouldn't he be smiling? Logically, wouldn't he be smiling? Something is bothering him about that one. He sleeps, he sees nightmares of that one. Right? But that one is not as angry as you. That one does not want to revenge on you. That one wants to correct the damage you have done to this country, including economic, violence, and human rights. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that message. We've already about 12 hours and the journalists are complaining about the time.